Why are you crying, sweetie? Come on.
I'm so scared.
There. It's gonna be okay.
Donald Trump has won. I can't make sense of the world.
It's gonna be okay. It's okay.
It's a crazy world, crazy world. Somebody's gotta have to save you. It's a crazy world. It's a crazy world. Somebody's gotta have to save you.
All right, guys, it's November 11th, 2024. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. As always, we are doing the live streaming on the Rumble, on the YouTube, on the locals. Share, subscribe, tap that notification bell. Welcome to all the new viewers. The numbers have been completely insane. Every morning I wake up and I'm looking at the subscribers and the views and just the whole thing. And it's really, really great. And I'm thrilled that clearly we're doing something a little bit differently here. And we've framed things, I suppose, somewhat properly over the last couple of years that helped make last week's events happen. So welcome to everybody. Post-game show, as always, rubinreport.locals.com. And of course, today is Veterans Day. And I did just want to take a moment before we start just to acknowledge all of the veterans. You know, we, guys like me in this chair and many of you, most of you, we get to sit and fight online about all of the things that are happening in the world. But there are plenty of great people far better than us that actually have done the fighting in the real world. They are currently serving in our armed forces. And so I just wanted to take a moment to thank everybody for that. It's a really, really important day. We can talk about the political fighting and the cultural fight all the time, but without the people that actually put their lives on the line to make us all free so we can do all the silly stuff, none of this is possible. So thank you to everybody that is currently serving. That's number one. Number two, in light of last week, did you know that Donald Trump is going to be the next president? Pretty sweet. There's a lot of good things happening in the world, and we're going to dive into them. We're also going to dive into a little bit of what's going on with the left. I don't frankly care whether the Democrat Party comes back or moderates or anything else. I think there's incredible opportunity on the right. That's the beautiful thing that I've been calling for years. But it is worth examining what's happening sort of broadly on the left right now and seeing what happens and seeing where the Democrat Party decides to go. And Bill Maher, who got it all wrong, I would say, he gets a lot of the ideas right, but got the conclusion wrong, meaning vote for Kamala. He made a point on his show on Friday that I want to hit on at the top of our show. And just one other thing before we get to it, which is that everyone is saying the same exact thing to me, whether it's the guys I'm playing basketball with, or it's you guys that are emailing me, or it's the people in the studio, or my sister and cousins that I'm having dinner with over the weekend, which is everyone feels there is a renewed chance for America right now. At least everyone kind of roughly on our side, right? Like there really is a chance. And it is really incredible, and we needed it. I don't think we realized how deep in the thing we were. You know, when I always talk about that, we're just going to follow them to that endless descent into hell. Like we really were on that way where all of the bad forces were getting worse and worse and worse. And just think how you would feel right now, or what the future prospects for America would be right now if Kamala Harris had won, right? If that thing had won, and we'd be standing here today at this very moment, and they'd be writing Donald Trump's epitaph, right? They'd be saying goodbye to him. They'd be talking about the destruction of the Republican Party. They'd be going after Elon. They could be going after me. God knows what they would be doing. But we did it, and we should take a moment to acknowledge it, how great it is. And I'm telling you guys, the 80s boom is on the way. But okay, let's get to the program. Bill Maher, who, as you know, gets a lot of the stuff right, calls out wokeness. He's pro-free speech. He's right on most of the issues, but unfortunately his conclusion usually ends up being wrong, which is vote for Democrats. Well, he did something nice at the top of his show. He called out the left and the Democrats because they got people like him into a pretty precarious position, which is that they'll no longer have the presidency, they're no longer gonna have the Senate, they're no longer gonna have the House, and the evil guy, or the purported evil guy, is now gonna be in charge. And Bill used a line right up top that you're gonna recognize from the Rubin Report. I'm always talking about that mirror thing. Take a look.
You know what? We're going to hear about both tonight on the panel and throughout the whole show, the winners, the losers. My message to the losers, look in the mirror. No? Well, maybe you should, sorry. Well, that's my feeling. Losers look in the mirror, okay? You know, yeah. I mean, for months, Democrats have been saying, how is this even close? And they're right, it wasn't. But, you know, he has an amazing coalition. He kept the old crowd that likes him. He got a lot of new voters. He got a lot of people who say they just want to see what he'll do. I call this the get the cat high vote. We're going to keep doing jokes here, okay? Right? Both sides, right to the end. And you know what? I think that will be okay with them. We'll test that, but I think it will. But, you know, the liberal media, always more offended than the victim, been saying it for years. They were like, women are so upset about Donald Trump. Women are a little stronger than you think. Women were like, I mean, Kamala underperformed in every demographic. I mean, although she is still polling very well among illegal immigrant inmates who want sex change operations. Totally on her side. Make no mistake. This election was very much about what I've been saying here and lost a lot of fans for saying over the years, that this country has had enough of the anti-common sense woke bullshit. That was... They have, resoundingly, and here in LA, Proposition 36 passed. This was the one that said shoplifting, which we'd made just a misdemeanor, is now a felony again. Yeah, you have to... Common sense. Yeah, people in this town, even liberal LA, said, you know what, here's an idea. Instead of locking up the toothpaste, how about we lock up the shoplifters? You know, this is not... He said, Bill, you're a Republican. That doesn't make me Republican, you assholes.
Okay, I want to, first off, any host of a show with a live studio audience that's willing to call his audience assholes, and he does call them out, and sometimes he scolds them when they applaud for the wrong thing or whatever, or even at the beginning when he made the joke and they kind of didn't applaud, he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, he deserves credit for that. Okay, so let's just put aside the fact that he unfortunately did not vote the right way, let's say. Let's put that aside. I think in a healthy democracy, you want someone on the other side of the political aisle that is kind of making sense. And the fact that Bill is now telling these idiots, look in the mirror. I mean, it's literally a phrase I've used almost every day on this show for 3 years, that this is all the left needed to do. The fact that he's willing to call out the ridiculous ideas of California that's been locking up toothpaste, and that that the true liberals who usually were Democrats, who now largely have become Republicans, see Dave Rubin, see RFK, see Joe Rogan, see Tulsi Gabbard, etc. The fact that he's staying on that side, okay, you can judge him as you wish. But again, putting that aside, the idea that they are going to have to now take stock, they're going to have to really look and be like, boy, we spent all of this money, all of this time, all this media cachet trying to destroy this guy, calling him Hitler, his supporters racist and everything else, and we still lost. So either we can look in the mirror, and I'm going to make a little prediction here, and Bill, you're probably not going to be thrilled with this. The prediction is they will not do a great job of looking in the mirror. I think they're going to keep going down that road. It's almost impossible. You have painted yourself into such a corner when you call everybody Nazis and racists and everything else, that how do you get out of it now? How do you get out of it? And so much of, unfortunately, where the energy is with the Democrats still, and we'll have some evidence on this throughout the show, is still with, oh, it was just the racists and the bigots that did this. And once you fundamentally tell people that America is evil, it's hard to dig out of that. So it is an honorable thing, even if Bill did not get to the correct conclusion here, it is an honorable thing to have someone on the left that's willing to call out their sides. And I would just put that in contrast with, say, Stephen Colbert, with some of the other late night hosts, right? Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, whoever that weird guy is, and the other one. All of those guys, it's like they're all tools for the machine, got it all wrong, and we know what path they've chosen. Bill is saying, I'm going to go down another road, and it's much more honest whether you agree with the political conclusion or not. Then they jumped on the panel, and they talked about whether Trump actually has a mandate now, in that he won by a landslide electorally, electoral college, actual votes, Senate, House, blah, 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 blah. Take a look.
But you can't scream about democracy and then have a guy run the table like this and not say, well, it's a mandate, right? Is that right or wrong? Is it a mandate?
Yes, the Harvard Institute of Politics student president came out with an op-ed today talking about how they weren't going to forego democracy for the sake of nonpartisanship. Set aside that they might have wanted to talk to a lawyer before saying their nonprofit was now going to be a partisan organization. But the idea that you're going to be pro-democracy by not giving a voice and allowing other students to hear from speakers that belong to the party that just won through a democratic process, like that's where the left has a problem. They become the party of the faculty lounge. They're so condescending. They're so arrogant. And again, not to beat the dead horse, the whole point is to be exclusionary. They're not accidentally exclusionary. It's the mission statement.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw Kamala was on Saturday Night Live, as the losing candidate often is. It worked so well for Hillary. Let's run that back. And it just made me think. I'm sure every single member of the Saturday Night Live cast was a Harris supporter. But what if one of them wasn't? What if one of those cast members was for Trump? Would they have felt comfortable saying so? I really don't think so. They would have had to keep it to themselves. That's not a good place for us to be. I remember when, and that happens even more on the left. And I remember when Elon Musk hosted, and this is well before he was a Trumper. This is 3 or 4 years. He was just the richest man in the world. And a number of the cast members on Saturday Night Live, like, they didn't want to deal with him. They didn't exactly boycott, but they made it plain. And I was thinking, really? You have Elon Musk on your show for a week. You could talk to one of the most interesting, brilliant people the world has ever produced, even about this issue that bothers you so much, that he's so rich and lots of people aren't. But no, you don't want to even deal with him. That's what I hate about the left.
Okay, again, that's credit. Like when you're calling out your own side, it's tough. It's tough to do that. By the way, you may remember, what was it, 2+ years ago now, that I went on Club Rant with Bill Maher and I said something that I think he had never heard before, and he agreed with me. I was like, Bill, you know, you could show up to a Trump rally today and some people would be like, F Bill Maher, but most people would be like, Bill Maher's here. How cool, free speech. He gets it. He's willing to talk to us. And then I said, Bill, that would be in stark comparison to what would happen to you if you went to an AOC rally where you would be universally hated. And that's the exact point that he is now making, that this is what the SNL people this is how the SNL people would treat him. I mean, Bill Maher, one of the best comedians we've had in America, agree with him or disagree with him, for the last 30+ years, almost 40 years at this point. And he never gets invited to SNL. And if he did, they would be boycotting him the same way they would boycott now Donald Trump or Elon Musk or anything else. So I also really like the line that the ABC News correspondent said, the party of the faculty lounge. That is right. It's a bunch of uber elitist, well, I'd say thinkers, but they're not really thinkers, but it's sort of like think tank people. These are people who cannot do. And since they cannot do, what do? Well, you teach. I know there are great teachers out there, but that line, those who can't do, teach, is sort of applicable to what's going on here right now, right? There's just a whole bunch of people who got into their ivory tower. Gad Saad, Jordan Peterson talk about this all the time. They never really accomplish anything. And then what do? Because they want to control the world in a very twisted way. They infect the minds of young people with this parasitic virus that has become the woke thing that then took over an entire party in the United States. If you want to see how much that mandate, and mandate is not something that, let's say, give me one, that Andy Cohen is doing with Anderson Cooper, another kind of mandate. If you want to see what a mandate is, this is a mandate. Look at this map right here. This is the shift that happened in the United States. So 49 of the 50 states shifted right in the election. The darkest red is Trump over 10, as you can see. So Florida, Texas, et cetera, et cetera. And then you can follow along. I don't need to explain everything. I have a smart audience. I don't have to explain everything. It's nice. The funny thing there, of course, is that Utah is the only state that got bluer out of all of the states. And there's a lot of questions around what happened to Utah. Some people are saying, well, it's because so many people from Cali, the ones that weren't fully red-pilled and then made it to Tennessee and to Texas and to Florida, they basically ended up in Utah. There might be a pro-polygamy thing there. I'm not exactly sure, too. That's possible, I suppose. But let's continue, because Bill also, so not only, okay, so he's getting the ideas right. He's calling out sort of the elites in the party and what they did and all of those things. But he also made a point that he's made a few times, which is that he's not going to have Trump derangement syndrome this time, that he's going to judge him on his actions, not the idea of scary orange man.
You and I will have to just respectfully disagree. I think if we've never presidential candidates talking about people getting shot in a
Of course,
he called for a military tribunal against her.
I get it.
Again, he might not do it, but you don't want to normalize the notion that that's the kind
But that's not what he was
language.
That's what he talked about.
That's the kind of language that we want to have.
No, but that wasn't. But this is the problem with. I'm sorry, the far left, is that.
I'm not on the far left, but I don't think we should have presidential candidates
You're not
talking
going to
that
drag
way.
me into Trump derangement syndrome. It's not deranged to be upset and worried about the real things, like he could be a fascist. He wants to be. I'm very. But if you're going to think I'm going to chase every rabbit down the hole for the next wait a second, for the next 4 years, you're wrong. I'm not going to.
I'm not telling you what to do for the next.
That's who he is. No, I'm
years.
just telling you. I did this once. I'm not going to do it again.
That's credit. That's how you change. And who knows where Bill will end up years from now. Maybe he never gets where we all would want him to be electorally. And okay, so be it. But he's saying it. He's saying, I will not behave the way I behaved last time, which was I was going to hate him and undermine him no matter what. Remember, this is Bill Maher, who during the Trump presidency, when the economy was going well, said that he wouldn't mind if the economy crashed under Trump to get rid of Trump. Well, there's quite an evolution there. We don't all get red pilled overnight. Some people take the red pill and it's time release. Some people snort it. It depends on your makeup, I suppose. But I really like what he said there. He's not going to be upset. It's not wrong to be upset. He's not upset to be deranged by real things. Basically, in essence, saying that if there are real things that are happening that are bad, the border, economy, foreign policy, there are real things. So you shouldn't just be deranged about the guy all the time if he's fixing those real problems. Now, the guy he's talking to there, John Heilman, you blocked me on Twitter because you may remember John Heilman. And yes, he is far left and he is an MSNBC correspondent. This is one of my favorite clips of the last couple of years. We've shown it a few times. This is the great Russell Brand destroying John Heilman. Enjoy.
Disingenuous to claim that the biases that are exhibited on Fox News are any different from the biases exhibited on MSNBC. It's difficult to suggest that these corporations operate as anything other than mouthpieces for their affiliate owners in BlackRock and Vanguard. And unless we start to embrace, and also, mate, like just spiritually, if I may use that word in your great country, we have to take responsibility for our own perspective. I've been on that MSNBC, mate. It was propagandist nutcrackery on there. I went on a show called Morning Joe. It was absurd the way they carried on.
Good Morning Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. It wasn't morning. There was no one called Joe there. No one could concentrate. They didn't understand the basic tenets of journalism. No one was willing to stick up for genuine American heroes like Edward Snowden. No one was willing to talk about Julian Assange and what he's suffered trying to bring real journalism to the American people. And I think to sit within the castle of MSNBC throwing rocks at Fox News is ludicrous.
My friend,
Make MSNBC better. Make MSNBC great again.
My friend.
All right, the clip goes on and on and on. We decided to cut it there. If you want to see the full thing, we've shown it many times. But that is the point. What you've got is Russell Brand, who was a man, who was a British guy, who was apolitical, really a lefty, if anything, politically his entire life. And now he's red-pilled too and on stage with RFK and Jordan Peterson and the rest of them. So something really has shifted here. So the reason I'm showing you this is that the Democrats right now, who are, it's an absolute disaster on their side, and they deserve it. And yes, we should be. It's interesting because on one hand, you absolutely can make the argument that we must destroy them and crush them and eliminate them and everything else. But if there's anyone sane there, maybe they can reconstitute something sane. And even if we don't agree with it, even if we don't vote for it, even if it's still too big government, it would be nice to have something sane there to put the crazy people to bed, right? Eliminate the crazy people, have a roughly sane party like you had. I'm probably not coming back over because we've got something rich and awesome developing now on the right. It's fantastic. But the Dems, you now have two options. You can be like John Heilman, right, who blocked me on Twitter. You can be like that guy and defend the nonsense of MSNBC and think everyone's racist and that Trump doesn't have a mandate. You can do all of that, or you can do what Bill Maher's doing right now, right? You can be the adult in the room. You can tell them to get a mirror and look at what they've done. You can tell them to stop with the neo-racism, chopping off kids' genitals, and all of the craziness. And by the way, Bill has a track record. I thought this would be an interesting moment to flash back to my red pill moment. I saw this back in the fall of 2015. I was on the Young Turks. I was a lefty, progressive at the time, and I knew something was wrong. I was like, what is going on here? I can't figure out what is exactly happening with these people. It can't be that we are so good and they are so bad. It can't be. Why is it that the liberals are shutting everybody up? Why are we afraid to have honest conversations? And then I saw this moment on Real Time. I know you've seen it before, and this is exactly why I credited my first book. It was written in honor of Ben Affleck. Here you go.
I would argue that liberals have failed us. And the crucial point of confusion, thank you.
Thank God you're here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the crucial.
Are you the person who understands the officially codified doctrine of Islam? You're the interpreter of that, so you can say, well, this is.
I'm actually well educated on this topic.
I'm asking you. So you're saying if I criticize you're saying that Islamophobia is not a real thing. That if you're critical of something,
well, it's not a real thing when we do it.
Right.
Well, no,
it really isn't.
I'm not denying that certain people are bigoted against Muslims as people. And that's a problem.
Big of you.
But why are you so hostile about this concept?
It's gross. It's racist.
It's not. But it's so not.
It's like saying those stateless, shifty Jew.
You're not listening
Absolutely
to
not.
what we are saying.
You guys are saying if you want to be liberals, believe in liberal principles like freedom of speech, like we are endowed by our forefathers with an inalienable rights, like all men are created equal.
Ben, we have to be able to criticize bad ideas. And
of course we do. No liberal doesn't want to criticize bad ideas.
But Islam at this moment is the mother lode of bad ideas.
Jesus.
So we have.
You know, I know I'm not the only one who woke up in that moment, but that really was there. You know, everyone knows my famous Larry Elder moment, and there were a couple red pill moments along that road. But that moment where I saw two people, Bill Maher and Sam Harris, who I didn't even know, well, I certainly didn't know him personally, but I don't think I even really knew who he was before that at all. And obviously Sam and I have gone different ways. Ironically, Sam has now joined, I would say, more of the far left hysteria. But putting that aside, that was the liberal position was don't be bigoted towards people, but we should be critical of ideas. You don't want bad ideas festering because actually they really come for the liberals first. I mean, if you think about it, if radical Islam came to America, who would they go for first? Would it be the conservatives or the liberals? They would go for the, I don't know, liberal atheist Bill Maher, the liberal atheist Sam Harris. They might go for the lefty celebrity who has, I think, 7 trans kids, Ben Affleck, right? That would be the thing. So that right there, it's less than a decade ago. And in quickly in a decade, we saw the left and the Democratic Party go completely bananas. And then we saw now this beautiful wide tent thing happen here. I want to jump back to one other clip from Real Time because I'm trying to paint you a picture of there were many moments along the way that the Democrat Party did not have to go completely insane. You may remember this one from a couple months ago. This is Nancy Pelosi back in August on Real Time with Bill Maher saying that she wants to give illegals home loans so that they can share in the dream of American home ownership, which I thought was an American dream, but
the California lawmakers just passed a law, it hasn't been signed by Governor Newsom, but giving government assistance to undocumented immigrants to buy houses. Mm-hmm. That's kind of a different place than the Democratic Party used to be on immigration, is it not? I'm not going to say that's what the country's going to do, but that's certainly where California is.
Well, let me just say, immigration had always been a bipartisan issue. I refer you to
But not free houses.
Well, that's not free housing. It's the American dream being available to more people. But understand this about immigration. The best speech on immigration was by President Ronald Reagan. This is the last speech I will make as President of the United States. I want to communicate a message to the country I love. And he talked about the Statue of Liberty and the beacon of hope it is to the world, and what America was preeminent in the world because our door was always open, and we will cease to be preeminent when we shut the door. Now, I don't do justice to the great communicator. Google it. It's a fabulous speech. And George Herbert Walker Bush continued in that respect for the diversity of America and the rest. California's always in the lead. Maybe others will follow that lead, but that's up to those states. But we're very blessed here with beautiful diversity.
So you'd vote for this law?
Excuse me?
So you'd vote for this law?
Well, I'm not familiar with exactly what that is, but making the American dream of home ownership available to all people is something we have to do for people who are here now.
This is before you were a citizen. This is undocumented. This is for the undocumented.
Well, what I would like to do is move them to documented. The fact that I can move them to
We played you the clip before. We don't have to overanalyze it, but it's psychotic. That woman should be nowhere near any office in the United States government. The idea that America has been always open for everyone is completely absurd. It has not always been open, nor should it be. You have borders for a reason. There's a reason we're not Canada, and there's a reason Canada's not Mexico. We have things called borders, and thus you build a culture, and you build institutions around the beliefs of your nation. It's completely absurd. It's idiotic. I love the fact that then he asked for the most low-hanging fruit. So are you going to vote for the thing? Well, I haven't even read the thing. And also, do you want to follow Nancy Pelosi in turning America into California? Obviously, none of us do. No sane person wants to. Now, again, the criticism that you might make of Bill is, well, Bill, you heard her say that. You heard all the other stuff. You saw Russell Brand blow this guy apart 9 years ago. You were doing the thing with Sam Harris and Ben Affleck, and you still voted the wrong way. But okay, again, just put that aside. The Dems have two options. Do you want to be like Ben Affleck, Nancy Pelosi, John Heilman, the rest of these people who will double down and double down and double down and make everything worse and worse and worse and try to destroy every freaking good thing that is about to happen? I'm telling you guys, we are on such an unbelievable horizon right now. It's right on the other side. We're almost there. Like, you can see the horizon now. That's what I should have said. You can see the horizon now. We are about to get to an 80s boom that is, it's going to be better than the 80s. That's my prediction. It's going to be better than the 80s because we have been we've been in the mire and the muck. And you might say, okay, late 70s, we were in the mire and the muck with Jimmy Carter. But now with technology, with just everything happening, we are right there on the cusp of a new world. And they can decide, will we help them get there? Or will we destroy the entire thing? That really is the question. We'll have more on that in just a second, but first let me talk to you about the TWC Med Kit. Do you guys remember Event 201? Just before an election, Bill Gates, the World Economic Forum, and Johns Hopkins ran a pandemic simulation in October of 2019. Months later, COVID hit. Well, here we go again. It's October, we're on the verge of a historical election, and now there's a bird flu summit. Their playbook is the same: create chaos, bring back lockdowns, and perform medical tyranny. Well, wake up, guys. This is their October surprise. Last time we got caught off guard, but now we have a proven solution to protect ourselves and our families. The wellness company created the medical emergency kit, and every home in America should have at least one of these. They're packed with life-saving meds like ivermectin, amoxicillin, and even a Z-Pack. And it's all backed by experts like Dr. Peter McCullough. Picture this: no more frantic searches for a doctor, no more emergency waiting rooms. Just a few clicks and this kit is delivered to your front door. In times like these, having your medical emergency kit is a necessity. Protect your family by preparing now. Head on over to twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to save $45. Don't wait until it's too late. Act now, take control, and ensure you're protected against whatever comes next. That's twc.health/Rubin and use code Rubin to save $45 plus free shipping right now. All right, so as I was saying for months, what this election really was about was not really Trump versus Kamala, and Kamala wasn't even really a candidate in some sense. She just represented the machine. And it wasn't Republicans versus Democrats or liberals versus conservatives. It really was about sort of us versus the media. How are people getting their news now, and how many people have been red-pilled and are not paying attention to the propaganda of the machine? Well, it turns out that an awful lot of you are not. I know you watching this are not, and that's why I show these clips of mainstream media, because it's become a joke, and at some point we'll move past that and never address them again. I think we're getting closer to that. But over on the televised mental institution known as MSNBC, Willie Geist was on with a guy by the name of Jim Vandehei from Axios, and they were now even conceding that an awful lot of that discourse is happening on X, which is owned by that crazy billionaire they don't like very much.
You've always been sort of the leading edge of where media is going with Politico, now with Axios. You understand the environment so well. How do Democrats, and frankly, how does legacy media need to change the way it thinks about getting information? I mean, a lot of the voters who went out and voted for Donald Trump, that so many people are wondering what happened here, they're not watching, frankly, this show. They're not reading the New York Times. They're not consuming media that way. And the Trump campaign found those voters where they live. So how do Democrats need to change the way they communicate to voters if you think that's part of the problem?
For sure. I mean, I think all of us have to come to grips with legacy media is just not as important as it thinks it is. It is to you, it is to me. That's a relatively small group of people who rely on us for their information. And you have to go into the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. And basically, the way people get information has shattered into 20, 30 different pieces. And so if you just look empirically at the numbers, Joe Rogan's more important than any of us. He just has a much bigger, hyper-connected audience that listens to his every word. So maybe listen to Joe Rogan and try to understand, like, what is he talking about? What are the guests that he has on? What are the issues that they care about? Realize that the gravity of right-wing discourse is now taking place on X. It's not Fox. X is what matters.
All right. Yeah. Sorry, Willie. We don't pay attention to you anymore. We only watch you to mock you. Nobody gives a shit about the New York Times anymore, which is not worth the paper that it's printed on. The New York Times, which for decades has literally completely made up its bestseller list because they knew that too many people were reading conservative books and waking up, and they didn't want that to be on there. Don't Burn This Country, my second book, was supposed to be #1 on New York Times. I'm not making it up. It's real sales, and they didn't even put it on the list. I don't care. I don't care. I'm only mentioning it to show if they will lie about literal sales numbers. Do you think they'll lie about political biases? Do you think they'll push out propaganda wherever they see fit? So yes, more and more people. And the fact that they're just, I love how he says to the guests, like, and you've been on the forefront of all of this with Politico and Axios. It's like, dude, you're 10 years behind us over here, man. Like, no, you are not on the forefront of anything. It was you guys. It was you guys listening to these podcasts, sharing these things, showing up, years ago. I'll tell you this, years ago when I was on tour with Jordan Peterson in 2018, that's when the shift started happening because people were coming out to these shows. And when I was doing my opening, I would often mention how it was so cool. I would say to everybody, stop and look around the room for a moment. You guys are all watching these shows, listening to these podcasts on this little device. You don't know what your neighbor thinks, the guy on the subway next to you, what your cousin, anyone else thinks. But now you're in a room with 8,000 people, all because you heard this stuff online. You saw this video, whatever it might be. So there's been a wholesale shift. These guys are just catching up with it. And guess what? They ain't going to give up easily. Here's a compilation from that televised mental institution. We've got Muppet Chris Hayes. We've got Nicole Wallace, who apparently deleted her Twitter over the weekend because, whatever. And noted blonde woman Joy Reid.
One of the ways it's genuinely different is that he now has a kind of coterie of oligarchs, including the richest man in the world, who've kissed the ring, worked to get him elected, and are now apparently going to be running America. Now, this is a model that's actually familiar across the world. It's pioneered and perfected by strong men like Viktor Orban in Hungary and Recep Erdogan in Turkey, and of course, Vladimir Putin in Russia. All of these rulers have their little crew of corporate and industrial titans who often hold no official government titles, but do the work of the regime in ways large and small, legitimate and otherwise, in return for their access and special privileges.
I have this sort of insatiable interest in every bit of wisdom you can impart. And as a journalist, I hear you about girding ourselves for this moment. As a human, I deleted Twitter today as an act of self-preservation, and because I was no longer able to find the things I was interested in and was seeing a lot of things that I'm not.
A challenge with the idea of how do you interact with people who voted for this, right? If you are an LGBTQ person and someone in your family voted essentially against your rights, or you're a woman, knowing that, this man was calling people the B word. J.D. Vance was literally calling Kamala Harris the trash and said, we're going to take out the trash. I know a lot of Black women were incredibly triggered by that. And if you then meet somebody and they voted for the people who called you trash, or if you're Puerto Rican, and someone voted that way, do you recommend, just from a psychological standpoint, being around them?
It's a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not.
Did you see the Chiron down there? What was it? Calls to what was that? LGBTQ plus 700% increase since the election. Guys, you can come to the free state of Florida, go to Miami Beach. I don't go there, but there's drag queens running around and you could be fabulous or whatever you want. It's fine. God, they've broken brains. It's just, and of course, Joy Reid triggered that Donald Trump called someone trash. He didn't talk, first off, it was a comedian's joke at the beginning, and he wasn't calling Puerto Ricans trash. He was talking about a trash barge. But they're still, so again, this illustrates the point. They can either decide to look in the mirror. So Nicole Wallace, it's like, lady, you might want to look in the mirror and be like, how did you get this so wrong? Were all the conversations you were having completely out of touch with America, or will you just delete Twitter? And her answer is, I'll delete Twitter. Joy Reid, will you stop pushing racism and lies about trash and very fine people and everything else? Or will you just, or maybe you would look in the mirror. We know what she's going to do. Chris Hayes, it's the same thing. I love how he's like, and Donald Trump has surrounded himself with billionaires. First off, why is it that you guys never talk about George Soros, right? Who has destroyed so many of our cities? Oh, he's a Democrat, right? That's why you don't do that. And then I love how he's like, and Donald Trump, who's, he's around these authoritarian leaders, and then they show 3 pictures and everyone's like, we look like this, we're bad people. By the way, the leader of Turkey is a particularly bad guy, but like, and they don't get official jobs. Well, Elon is, I think, going to be in charge of the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. So that's not, and it says, yes, Elon, the world's richest man, was like, I will put everything on everything that I have will be up for grabs if Donald Trump doesn't win. I will do it just so that I can get some more perks out of the government, just so I can be even a little richer. It's so pandering and pathetic and wrong and embarrassing that it's perfect for cable news, actually. There's a guy by the name of Alan Lichtman. He's a lefty professor at American University in D.C. And generally lefties don't get things right, but this guy has predicted 9 elections in a row, 9 presidential elections in a row. That's pretty good. But this one he got way, way wrong, because he's sort of in the belly of the beast of exactly what we're showing here, this high society, elite DC people. And here he is explaining that his model for all of this was correct, but it was that scary billionaire Elon Musk who screwed him over.
And the keys, because the keys depend upon a rational, pragmatic electorate deciding based on governance whether the incumbent party should get 4 more years. And we've seen the explosion of some trends that have existed before, but not to this extent. Disinformation. Elon Musk is, I don't know how many hundreds of billions he has. He has been the director of misinformation. 2 billion views of his spreading of disinformation, not just about the economy, but about immigrants, about minorities. We've never seen disinformation at this scale. Next, we have never seen to this scale the agitation of 3 trends that have been very deeply embedded in American history: misogyny, racism, and xenophobia. The first anti-immigrant law was 1798, and Donald Trump wants to revive.
Oh, yes, misogyny, racism, and xenophobia. They're going to do it again. Do you see my point? They are not going to get the mirror. What's the cheapest mirror one can buy on Amazon? I will buy thousands of mirrors. What's the biggest box of cheap mirrors that I can send to these people? We're going to look into it. I'm being told that you did that really quick. The cheapest mirror you can buy on Amazon is apparently $2. I don't know, what else? Maybe I'll buy 10,000 mirrors. We'll just send, can you imagine if 10,000 boxes of mirrors just showed up to MSNBC or CNN or whatever? It's interesting, even the host there, I don't even know what her name is. It doesn't even matter. These people are all interchangeable. They're all useless. None of them deserve their jobs. They only have their jobs because they're propagandists. But she might say to him, could you give me an example of some of you just said Elon Musk spreads misinformation. Could you give me an example of it? And they never do, right? Because they're the ones that spread misinformation. All the hoaxes they've gone in on. Oh, and he also, did you catch that? His model failed because he was assuming a rational, pragmatic electorate. But you motherfuckers had to start thinking for yourselves. You guys had to stop listening to the elites and paying attention to MSNBC and CNN, and you guys screwed him good, you pragmatic, rational pieces of shit. Over on CNN, there's a man who cries often. His name is Van Jones. He used to work with Donald Trump, but to get the gig at CNN, you have to be overly emotive and back up, sort of reverse on everything you used to believe. But here he is explaining that, he does kind of get this one right, and that's his little trick. He gets some stuff right every now and again, that, the Dems sort of got outplayed by the conservatives because conservatives started using their phones and finding out information in new, curious ways. Ooh.
Here's how we got beat. We got beat because the Republicans and the conservatives built a different media system that had to do with online, had to do with podcasts, had to do with streaming platforms, and they were spending their money there. We were laughing at them and knocking on doors in Philadelphia and Detroit. It's like, there's no Trump people. They're not dropping literature. They're not knocking on doors.
Well, in fact, it was laughing like, oh, Elon Musk and Charlie Kirk with their PACs don't know what they're doing.
We were making fun of Donald Trump for having thrown away his ground game and doing some weird stuff online. We thought that they were idiots. It turned out we were the idiots. We woke up in a body bag because while we were knocking on doors, they were making these phones into 24-hour-a-day political weapons for themselves. And so we got outflanked, outplayed, outbeat.
So why do you have a job now, Van? If you just figured that out yesterday and you were wrong for the last 2 years, someone at CNN, unless you're paid to be a propagandist, you get it, guys? Unless you're paid to be a propagandist, hold the truth until it can't be held anymore. That's the airlock of truth, right? Truth is a time-release pill. Now, Van, suddenly he's woke up. Oh my God, we didn't realize about, Van Jones just found out about phones. It's just incredible. Also, I love how he's implying that it was the Republicans who spent all the money. It was the money on the online podcast and everything else. No, it wasn't. It was that Donald Trump showed up to these places. It's because people like me and Rogan and a whole bunch of other people, we went independent, started talking about things differently. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about money at all, that they somehow spent money on all of these things. It was that people started paying attention to things that were closer to the truth than the BS that you people were peddling. But if you're right about that, it's like if you get everything in an election wrong, and then the day after the election, you're like, boy, we really did get everything wrong. It's like, you don't deserve a job at that place. I'm not calling for him to be fired. He's exactly what they want over there. But it's like, dude, you're not particularly good at your job. Barry Weiss, who everyone knows I've had my frustrations with because she's a lefty who I don't sort of has gotten there and then doesn't quite get there. It's very much in the Bill Maher way, but she's right on the idea stuff. She now that Trump has won, is willing to go on Fox News, I think for the first time. I could be wrong on that, and I'll gladly clean it up if I am. But she's been right about a lot of the stuff. She's been calling out the craziness of the left. Former New York Times journalist who has said that the whole place has gone woke. She quit very publicly. She started the Free Press. Here she is on Fox, basically perfectly explaining what just happened.
I think one of the great stories of this election, frankly, is the rise of new media and the power of new media. You had one campaign, again, this has nothing to do with love Donald Trump, hate Donald Trump. Objectively, they ran a campaign in which both candidates, J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, went on 3-hour-long podcasts with people like Theo Vaughn and J.D. Vance and Tim Dillon. They embraced a new media. They embraced platforms like X. And then you had another candidate who was scripted to within an inch of her life.
Yeah, and that's the point. She was a horrible candidate. It was overly scripted. She, as David Sachs mentioned a couple of weeks ago, and I repeated it often, she became part of it. She was in a doom loop that basically the more they hid her, people didn't like her. The more they showed her, people didn't like her. Everyone felt the inauthenticity. I would also mention that I think the little slight piece that Barry's missing there is that it's not just because Trump and JD went on these shows. It's because an entire ecosystem was built under their noses, right? How did this show develop? I decided to go independent because I was like, these corporate structures do not work. People don't pay attention to that stuff anymore. Even Fox. Fox is very fair to me. I go on all the shows all the time. So this is not a criticism of them in that they never tell me what to say. But I can tell you when I go on Fox, I don't really see much traction online anymore because the worlds have just completely split. That's not to say people aren't watching. Millions of people watch Gutfeld every night. I love doing Gutfeld. I love doing Jesse, all of those things. And again, they won't put me on CNN or MSNBC. Years ago, when I was still waking up, when I wrote Don't Burn This Book, so this is now in 2000, what was that, 2012? When did I write that book? Jesus, that was 2020? It's about 5 years ago, roughly. It was 2020. It was right during lockdowns when I was supposed to go on the book tour. We tried to get me on The View. We tried to get me on MSNBC and CNN and all of those things. So even then, when I wasn't as far a right-wing maniac as I am now, they were not willing to have those conversations. So an alternate ecosystem developed. More and more people started realizing, boy, that's a whole bunch of bullshit over there. We're going to find this new thing. And now new businesses developed and a completely new way of doing media developed. And congratulations to Van Jones for getting it today. We will talk about 1775 coffee for a moment and then a bit more on Kamala and her, let's just say, inefficient campaign. Did you know that most coffee creamers aren't even made with real cream or dairy? That's right. Your morning coffee might be loaded with oils, sugars, thickeners, and a laundry list of chemicals that don't belong in your cup. But 1775 Coffee's protein creamer is different. Packed with 10 grams of whey protein, 0 sugar, 0 fat, and under 50 calories. Non-GMO and naturally flavored with a smooth vanilla taste. It's pure American fuel for those who want to conquer their day while keeping their health in check. Whether you're fasting, building muscle, or simply gearing up to take on whatever challenges come your way, 1775's creamer has you covered. Pair it with their premium single origin coffee and you're not just starting your morning, you're launching it. This duo is bold, consistent, and unapologetically steadfast as you are. Use code Rubin for 15% off and make your mornings as strong as your beliefs. All right, so let's talk about the Kamala campaign for a second because, again, it was blown out of the water. She wasn't a real candidate. It was all fake. It's deeply connected to everything I've said here about the media. But it was also it was extraordinarily inefficient. These people are completely ridiculous and they wanted to continue to rule the world. Justin Blinson, podcast host, tweeted this out. I like grabbing tweets from people that I don't know that much because it's an interesting way of, again, illustrating the difference between sanity online and what's happening on mainstream media. He wrote this: wonder who is painting a better picture for America? Campaign spending. Trump raised $381.54 million and he spent $354.42 million. Only $10.4 million was spent on staff. Kamala raised $1 billion. She spent $1.37 billion, and she spent $582 million on staff. Do you realize how absolutely psychotic that is? In a campaign that basically ran for 5 months, she spent $582.53 million on staff? And that's the woman that wanted to run the economy with price controls for Publix so that they could control the price of tuna. These people are psychos, and thank God they lost. There's a bit more here. Check this out from MF Free American Press. Kamala Harris started her campaign with $1 billion, built a single-use podcast set in a hotel room for $100,000, spent $20 million on concerts the eve of the election in swing states, ended with $20 million in debt, and you thought she could somehow fix the U.S. economy. Do you realize how insane that is? There's actually no way to illustrate it properly. They gave her $1 billion, right? They're really worried about Elon Musk and the money that he put in and blah, 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 but they've got their billionaires. They've got about 70 of them that are huge Democrat supporters. $1 billion. She ended up $20 million in debt. It was inefficient. It was ridiculous. They gave Oprah $1 million for that interview, which strikes me as a deep journalistic faux pas, but I know that journalism's basically dead. The $100,000 that they spent on the podcast set, remember when she did that Call Me Daddy podcast about a month ago? They built that set. It cost them $100,000. It was 2 chairs and a freaking light. My whole studio here, and I think we have the best studio in the biz, and we've built multiples, I think cost about $150,000, and we use it every single day. Everything they do is inefficient. These people are frauds. They have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to carry the one. And thank God, once again, they are not anywhere near the office of the presidency. Donald Trump agrees with me. He tweeted this: I am very surprised that the Democrats, who fought a hard and valiant fight in the 2020 presidential election, raising a record amount of money, didn't have lots of money left over. Now they're being squeezed by vendors and others. Whatever we can do to help them during this difficult period, I would strongly recommend we, as a party, and for the sake of desperately needed unity, do. We have a lot of money left over in that our biggest asset in the campaign was earned media, and that doesn't cost very much. Make America great again. So first off, basically he's saying, I'm pretty sure he's saying it, and how funny would it be if Donald Trump literally has the campaign just write a check and pay off the Democrat debts? What a chef's kiss way of ending this ridiculous nonsense. And then, yes, of course, earned media. It wasn't that Trump and the surrogates and all of these people were being paid to do these things. I can tell you, knowing Tulsi very, very well, I had dinner with her the night of the MSG thing after that. She was not being paid for this. She was part of the transition team and running around on commercial flights, Sage Steele as well, often sitting in middle seats in the back of Spirit Airlines. They were doing it because they love the country. That is a fact. That is firsthand from them. Exhausted all the time, eaten crappy airport food and all of that stuff. And why were they showing up on all these shows? Why did RFK show up on all of these shows? We went a year ago during the bipartisan border deal when we went to DC and we did 20 interviews from the Rumble Studios in DC. Why is it that I could get 20 Republicans to show up and sit with me, and I could not get one Democrat? The only Democrat who even responded was Ilhan Omar's office, which is hilarious in its own right. But literally nobody else even responded. So mirror, mirror, mirror on the wall. Just stare at the freaking mirror, guys. Actor Michael Rappaport, you know what I always say about actors. We should not care that much about what actors think, but it is always interesting when someone who has a platform starts waking up to the right ideas. Most of these actors, probably because they're at Diddy parties, they wake up the wrong way. We'll probably find out more about that once Trump's in office. But Michael Rappaport, who's been in some great movies, you know, do you ever see 6th Day with Schwarzenegger? It was one of his last movies before he became governor. It's actually bizarrely good about cloning and a whole bunch more. Anyway, here he is just kind of unhingedly going after Obama and the Democrat machine.
Another reason why Kamala lost, Barack and Michelle Obama. Barack and Michelle Obama, you're not who you think you are anymore. You're movie producers. You're almost billionaires. You can't show up every 4 years and talk that shit. What have you done for me lately? Dun, 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 dun. Ooh, who are you guys? You're celebrities. You're celebrities now, big time political celebrities. Barack, Michelle Obama. You can't show up every few years and start telling people what they should do and who they should vote for. Who the f is you?
You know, I love that. Like, I think he's a Brooklyn guy, but like, I just love that New York, Jersey accent thing. But he's right. Obama's nothing more than a celebrity now. I mean, he is the Palpatine in this story in that he was pulling the strings. And I really do hope that Jill Biden secretly recorded the Kamala, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Obama meetings where they forced Biden out, because that would be a great ending to all of this thing. But putting that aside for a moment, Obama disappeared for 4 years publicly, then shows up 2 days before the election, says Donald Trump was speaking at a white supremacist rally where he said very fine people. They offer up all that bullshit. And he's also right. How did little known community organizer Barack Obama, who before he became president, he was worth, I think, about $300,000. He's almost a billionaire now. That's kind of curious. And why is it that Reid Hoffman, the owner of Netflix, where Obama now has a major deal, was funding some of the major Democrat campaigns, like the Newsom campaign to destroy Larry Elder during the recall, or this recent election that we just had? But let's go from a celebrity destroying these ridiculous people to one of the best in the biz, Megyn Kelly. I love Megyn, and Megyn got red-pilled. She has an interesting path, because she not only got red-pilled, but she was really part of mainstream media. I was never part of mainstream media, so my evolution was very public to all of the online people, right? And I still get people that come up to me and they're like, Dave, I can't believe it. I remember you on the Young Turks, and look how far you've come, and all of this stuff. But Megyn was part of the machine, right? She was on Fox News for years, then she went over to NBC. That did not go well. Ends up online. She's built her own thing just like I have, and she has just, as I said before, some people swallow the red pill, some people snort it. Here's Megyn Kelly.
Oprah, huge loser. J-Lo, you matter. Loser. No one cares what you think. If you want to talk to me about what it is you're doing to your skin, I'm all in. Go on. You got my full attention. If you want to tell me who to vote for or what's happening with the economy or immigration, please sit down. No one cares. We would like to know what happened between you and Ben Affleck, what happened between you and P. Diddy, exactly what you're doing to your butt, and how you keep your skin so glowy. That will end the list of things we care about J-Lo's opinion on. Taylor Swift, sorry, you effed around and found out. You do not have unlimited influence. The young girls love you because you sing songs about men who break up with you, and they can all relate to that. No one gives two about your political opinion, so you should take it and stuff it. That could be your next song. Stuff it. That's what the American electorate told me. We could play it on Thanksgiving as we do that to our turkeys. They will remind us of you and your political opinions.
All right, first off, we're going to clip the one line there completely out of context, and I'm going to put it on the Twitter. Sorry, Megyn. We'd like to know exactly what you're doing with your butt. We're just going to put that out there, see what happens with it on the internet. Misinformation. MSNBC tomorrow. Dave Rubin says Megyn Kelly's talking about someone's butt out of context. Of course she's right. We've had it with the celebrities. We don't care about these people. You want to talk about your skin regimen or your Botox or whatever, fine, but stop bludgeoning us with your bullshit because you've been to parties with child molesters. That doesn't mean we have to like you. So stupid. That might be the dumbest thing I've ever said. It's so true and yet so dumb. So true, so dumb. All right, we've talked a lot about the wrong ideas and what's going on with the left and the craziness, and yes, they're going to keep going. On the other side, we're going to talk about now building the proper thing because that's way more interesting and it's way more, it's a much better way to paint a positive vision for the future, which is coming whether they like it or not. First, let me talk to you about Rumble Premium. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions around COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted they fell to pressure from the Biden and Harris administration. Of course, Rumble did not. They held the line. They're attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They're attacked in corporate media. They're attacked by governments like France. They're attacked by brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove free speech while Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers alone. They don't get much of it. So watching our show is the number one way we can ask for support from you. But if you really believe in this fight and you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with promo code Rubin when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com/premium/Rubin and use code Rubin. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us right here on Rumble. All right, so you guys get it. There's some craziness on the left. There's going to be a war over there. We'll see how the media reacts to it and how much they play a role in whatever the future of the Democrat Party is, whether you care about those people or not. But now let's get to our side because there are some really, really good things happening and they're happening extremely quickly. I mean, that's the beauty of the American election. We have an election, and even though Donald Trump will not be president until January 20th, 2025, the world starts to turn, and Trump is using this time to make things happen very quickly. So I want to read a couple tweets by some of the players, and you can see how influential the online world has become. So David Sachs, who I've had on the show many, many times, he was one of our first investors in Locals. He's co-host of the All In podcast. He was the former COO of PayPal, which of course was run by a certain Elon Musk a long time ago. He tweeted this, and we'll connect this to some of the policy stuff. He wrote, just 2 months ago, while President Trump campaigned on the need to negotiate peace in Ukraine, Mike Pompeo stubbornly argued for escalating the war. Pompeo insists on NATO expansion that provoked the war. He's dangerously out of step for President Trump's views. Then Ron Paul, who really is the leader of the libertarian movement in America, maybe not as influential now as he once was. He's probably in his early 80s at this point, but also father of Rand Paul and deserves an awful lot of credit in terms of people waking up to limited government and how out of control the federal government is, et cetera, et cetera. He then tweeted this. As it appears slightly more likely that Donald Trump will secure a second term as U.S. president, the danger of neocons yet again infesting his cabinet and administration is steadily increasing. Trump told Rogan what a mistake it was to hire John Bolton last time around, but is he in danger of making an even worse mistake with Mike Pompeo? Beware the neocons, President Trump. Then Elon tweeted this. It was a response. He wrote, I agree that we should not empower neocon warmongers. Well, I'm showing you a little of the discussion happening online. It's transparent. It's people just sharing their thoughts. This is what we would want in public discourse, and then see how our public officials react to it. Well, now check this out from Fox News. President-elect Donald Trump announced in a public social media post Saturday that he will not be inviting 2 members of his former administration back to the White House. Nikki Haley, who served as U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, and former Secretary of State and CIA Director Mike Pompeo were both mentioned in the post. The Republicans had been considered 2 strong candidates for Trump's new cabinet. I will not be inviting former Ambassador Nikki Haley or former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo to join the Trump administration, which is currently in formation, the president-elect posted on Truth Social early Saturday evening. Despite the harsh nature of the announcement, Trump added that he enjoyed working with them. I very much enjoyed and appreciated working with them previously and would like to thank them for their service to our country, he continued. Make America great again. Haley, who ran against Trump in the Republican primary earlier this year, has been both publicly supportive and critical of the president-elect in the last week. Last week, she wrote a Wall Street Journal op-ed in support of his presidential campaign. I don't agree with Mr. Trump 100% of the time, Haley wrote, but I do agree with him most of the time, and I disagree with Ms. Harris nearly all the time. That makes this an easy call. So the reason I'm showing you this, and let's put aside what anyone might feel about this. Now, first off, the Ukraine war has been completely absurd. My position on it has remained exactly the same, basically from day one, which is that Putin is not a good guy, but he did not go into Ukraine under Trump. He did under Obama, remember Crimea, and he did under Biden. And I think Donald Trump, through a peace is strength position, will bring peace. And I think it's going to happen pretty quickly. And we read you those tweets from Zelensky last week, basically saying, I'm ready to negotiate because here's Donald Trump and he's not going to have a choice. What we've done for the last 4 years is basically just given them a blank check. I've had Rand Paul on to talk about this. We just give them money and money and money and money. We don't ask for receipts. And then the war keeps going. And of course, to the backdrop of all of that is Putin has nukes. So there really was no way they could ever win this thing. So removing the people that will keep us in a perpetual war that cannot be won is a good thing. So Donald Trump is reacting to the reality of people waking up to the people that have kept us in these endless conflicts. There's more on the State Department. This is from Eric Dougherty. Breaking. Vivek Ramaswamy is on President-elect Trump's final list for potential Secretary of State. Reportedly, the list is Rick Grenell, Marco Rubio, Bill Hagerty, who's senator from Tennessee, and he was ambassador to Japan under Trump, and Vivek. Now, I know you know some of those names. Rick has been a good friend of mine for years. He was our ambassador to Germany under Trump, and he was also temporary intelligence secretary. I think he would make an excellent head of the state. I think he would actually do a great job. I think Marco Rubio would do a fine job. Marco is an unbelievable explainer of the goodness of America, and standing up for American principles. So I think that would be good. I think Vivek has clearly shown now that he probably is the best in terms of fully explaining what's going on politically and culturally in this country. I don't know that he fully has the experience for it. Maybe he should take J.D. Vance's Ohio Senate seat. So some of that will play out. But the point is, it's a fairly good list. It's a fairly good list of people. And speaking of a good list of people, this is breaking this morning from the New York Post. Trump offers Representative Elise Stefanik ambassador to the United Nations post after New York's ally aggressive defense of his policies. This is phenomenal. Look, the United Nations, if Trump does one thing, I'll whisper it, I wouldn't want this to get out there. But Trump, if you want to get the Air Force to blow up the building, nobody should be in it while it's in New York, and just end the United Nations, that would be fine. But short of that, yes, Stefanik, who's been absolutely wonderful. She's been a great advocate for Trump, but she stood up against this college craziness and all the woke stuff. She's going to go in there, by the way, in a very similar way that Nikki Haley did, because Nikki Haley, even the people that despise Nikki Haley now, she largely did many of them will at least admit she did a great job as UN ambassador, and that is partly why we had peace. But I think Stefanik is an absolutely great choice. And now there's more. Trump has just announced his border czar. This is a tweet from Donald Trump. I am pleased to announce that the former ICE director and stalwart on border control, Tom Homan, will be joining the Trump administration in charge of our nation's border. The quote borders are, that's what Kamala was, including but not limited to the southern border, the northern border, all maritime and aviation security. I've known Tom for a long time, and there is nobody better at policing and controlling our borders. Likewise, Tom Homan will be in charge of all deportation of illegal aliens back to their country of origin. Congratulations to Tom. I have no doubt he will do a fantastic and long-awaited job. Now take a look at a little compilation we put together of Tom Homan talking about the border.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Homan,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're in the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
We have seen one estimate that says it would cost $88 billion to deport 1 million people a year.
I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Is that what American taxpayers should expect?
What price do you put on national security? Is that worth it?
Is there a way to carry out mass deportation without separating families?
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
That guy is a serious motherfucker. And that's the type of people we need in government right now. Thank you, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, for waking up Americans. You two dingbats let in 10 to 15 million people on top of the probably 15 to 20 that were already here. And we can talk about family separation and all of those things. And we can all have certain sympathies. And maybe there's been people here that have been here for a while and they've got jobs and they're good people. And we can figure out what we can do with some of those things and all of that. But how about we just have a serious guy in charge of something in the government? I know that's mind-blowing to so many people because we have ineffectual people who are usually hired because they chop their own genitals off. But how about now we just get a dude who sits there kind of like this and has the look in his eyes like, you fucking idiots, stop asking me those stupid fucking questions. That's what I'm interested in. Maybe I've been watching, it's because I'm watching The Sopranos again. I'm just like, that's the type of guy I want in government. And also the way he answered that question, you know how much it's going to cost? How much you want to pay for national security? It's like, let's be serious for a little while. Let's just see what happens if we're serious for a little while. But you do know how the media is going to frame it. Here's Kristen Welker, who's of course a Democrat activist, works for MSNBC, and she's very concerned about the price tag, about all this. Democrats don't really care about money. They'll spend money on anything. A toilet costs $7,000. But if you're going to do something for the American people, we got to look at the books.
As for day one, he told me, I think we have a lot of firsts, and brought up strengthening the border. I pressed him on the price tag of his mass deportation plan, which experts say could be in the billions. He told me, quote, "It's not a question of price tag. Really, we have no choice. When people have killed and murdered, they're not staying here. There is no price tag."
It really is true. They don't care about the reality of finances ever unless it's to do something to destroy the country. When they want to pass their Green New Deal, or where they want to do the Inflation Reduction Act, or they want to give Ukraine billions of dollars, all of these things, they have no problem with money, right? It's just like add another zero, add another zero. Then suddenly when it's like, okay, could we make sure that the people who are in America are here legally? Can we at least figure out who is here? And then can we have some discussions around family separation and the people that have been here legally with jobs and paying taxes and all those things? Suddenly they're freaking about the dollars, right? These are the same people who think you can print endless amounts of money. So it's all completely inauthentic and absolutely fake with them. But I also think that the messaging right there by Homan and Trump is right. We should not worry about the dollar sign right now. We actually do believe in budgets and spending appropriately and everything. But there are some things. It's not that we're going to make up the money. We're going to have to figure out, and this was what Elon said weeks ago. Remember that there might be a little pain point involved, right? We're going to have to figure out how to do things efficiently unless we want to be China's bitch forever. They're our creditor, and they might call in the debt one day. So let's start figuring things out so that we're fiscally responsible, our borders are sound, et cetera, et cetera. That's how you can do it. Another good move that I think Trump made is that he has chosen the first female ever chief of staff. I don't care that she's a chick. I only said that because that's what they seem to care about. But Susie Wiles, who looms hugely large in the Florida political landscape, she is now the chief of staff for Donald Trump. We've got some info here from the Daily Wire. Following his landslide election victory, President-elect Donald Trump tapped his campaign co-chair, Susie Wiles, to serve as White House chief of staff. Trump announced on Thursday that Wiles would transition from leading his campaign to helping him lead the country, as she is set to become the first female White House chief of staff in history. The president-elect described Wiles as tough, smart, innovative, and is universally admired and respected. Wiles was brought back to help Trump in the 2024 race. She was named the CEO of Trump's Save America PAC in 2021 and became the co-chair of Trump's election campaign. She was described by The Hill as the most powerful Republican you don't know. And the New York Times reported that she was perhaps the most significant voice inside Mr. Trump's third presidential campaign. Trump wasted no time after his 2024 victory to name Wiles as chief of staff. Susie will continue to work tirelessly to make America great again, Trump said. It is a well-deserved honor to have Susie as the first ever female chief of staff in United States history. I have no doubt that she will make our country proud. Again, it does not matter that she's a woman. It really does not, and we should not fall in the trap of that. But she is qualified. This woman has been working in Florida politics and with Trump for years. He didn't look around a list. It's just so obviously true. He wasn't just looking at a list. Well, we've got 10 possible people here that we could do. Get me a chick. Get me a black chick. Get me somebody who turned their penis into a vagina. He found someone that was competent. It's pretty refreshing and exciting, isn't it? And it continues. This just dropped, I think, a minute before we went online just now. Also from Eric Doherty, breaking President-elect Donald Trump selects Stephen Miller as his deputy chief of staff for policy. From CNN, Miller is known as a hardliner on immigration. So you can see they are building a team right now. And so far, what we can see from the team is it seems competent. The list of people he's selecting for the positions that haven't been selected yet, and a lot of these people have to be confirmed and all that, but it seems to be congruent with the things that he set out for in this campaign, and he seems to have good people advising him along the way. It is not, let's make the person in charge of the nuclear secrets a dude who wears high heels, and that's probably pretty good. Okay, so what do we have to do here? The point is that what we don't want to do is don't lose sight of the goal. There are still so many outstanding problems in the country that we are going to have to clean up an awful lot. This story right now from the Daily Wire, they broke some major news that's actually bubbling into the mainstream, which tells you that they really can't hold the lid on this one. This is absolutely wild. Check this out. A federal disaster relief official ordered workers to bypass the homes of Donald Trump supporters as they surveyed damage caused by Hurricane Milton in Florida, according to internal correspondence obtained by the Daily Wire and confirmed by multiple federal employees. A FEMA supervisor told workers in a message to avoid homes advertising Trump as they canvassed Lake Placid, Florida, to identify residents who could qualify for federal aid, internal messages viewed by the Daily Wire revealed. The supervisor, Marnie Washington, relayed this message both verbally and in a group chat used by the relief team, multiple government employees told the Daily Wire. The government employees told the Daily Wire that at least 20 homes with Trump signs or flags were skipped from the end of October and into November due to the guidance, meaning they were not given the opportunity to qualify for FEMA assistance. Images shared with the Daily Wire show that houses were skipped over by the workers who wrote in the government system messages such as Trump sign, no entry per leadership. It is unclear whether the same guidance was issued elsewhere in the country. The employees were part of a Department of Homeland Security surge capacity force team, meaning they volunteered from other DHS agencies to help an understaffed FEMA as it dealt with a second major hurricane in a span of just a few weeks. So do you guys get how deep the rot is here? This story is now finally being reported, I think, on NBC News last night. So this is great work by the Daily Wire. You want to talk about sort of the change of guard, online media versus mainstream media? NBC, ABC, etc., CNN, they would not cover this unless they had to. But at some point, we build enough stuff, we get enough chatter online, and then they cannot ignore it anymore. So this is deeply connected to everything else. So this is what Drain the Swamp is. This is, we have to bring in people to reform these agencies. How rotten are they? What is the deep state? Why is it that we bring in a Democrat this time and a Republican this time, but not that much changes? Well, I think we're seeing it. And one of the guys that Donald Trump is bringing in is a man who in a saner world would still be a Democrat, but now he's a wide tent. Well, I can't call him a Republican, but he is for making America great again. Of course, I'm talking about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And check this out. He tweeted this. Breaking, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says the Trump administration will change the personnel of public health agencies on day one. And if we can't fire them, we can ship them to a new HHS headquarters in Guam. So we're close, guys. We got a couple months left of the Biden presidency, whatever the hell you want to call the circus that we have right now. But on January 20th, it is going to start. And you know it, you just know it this time. It's going to start right. I think Trump will have a limited window of opportunity to take all of the energy, all of the forces that we see, all of the right people, and just say, guys, we're doing everything. And Bobby is going to be ready on day one. Bobby's literally going to be sitting there like, all right, I've got the directive. This is the plan. And he's going to literally walk into whether it's HHS or they're going to walk into DOJ or NIH, whatever it is, he's going to walk in there and crack skulls. And that's what we've needed. And then maybe, if another pandemic comes, we won't all be forced to be in our houses and to inject people with things and all of the craziness. This is the attitude we need to have. It's time to get juiced up again. It's time to be proud of America again. It's time to dream again and understand that we can do anything in this country, not because we're diverse and we chop our genitals off, but because we're Americans and there is an American dream and we're allowed to dream it. And we've been stuck with a bunch of people who've decided that their dystopian nightmare is better than our dream. But I think we're pretty damn close. So we've got to get these people out of the way, and we've got to get the job done, and they have to understand that the media is going to attack them no matter what, and they have to ignore it. Do I have a good example of that? I do. Connor, can you play it right now? You can?
Kennedy has no experience in public health. He's an environmental attorney, but that has not stopped him from being one of the leading proponents of anti-vaccine conspiracy theories for years. So what does this mean? Joining me right now is Dr. Paul Offit, the director of the Vaccine Education Center at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. He's also a member of the FDA Vaccine Advisory Committee. Doctor, thank you. Before I show some of what Kennedy's views on public health, overall, what do you think RFK Jr. having power over public health in this country will mean for this country?
Well, to be honest, I can't believe we're actually having this conversation. I mean, if you look, that science and technological advances have allowed us to live 30 years longer than we did 100 years ago. And now you have this man, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's a science denialist, a virulent anti-vaccine activist, a conspiracy theorist, who will have some sway over public health. Nothing good can come of that. He denies those advances. He simply declares his own scientific truths. It's a dangerous moment.
Ignore clowns like that. And I'm talking about both that host with that ridiculously slanted intro, and I'm talking about that doctor. Robert F. Kennedy's a science denialist. Why is it that RFK has been trying to debate all of you people for years and you refuse to do it? Why would you refuse to do it? I think we know the answer to that. Also, being vaccine skeptical in light of COVID, which the mRNA turned out not to be a vaccine, and the amount of people who have myocarditis or other health injuries, being skeptical of that is pretty good. I did not get vaxxed. I'm alive. Connor, are you alive? Connor, confirmed alive. Phoenix? All right, everyone in this room is alive. You see the point? You see the point? They have lied about everything. They do not deserve our attention. They deserve our ridicule and our mockery. That's about it. There's another story breaking right now in terms of competent people who might be part of this administration. This is from Donald Trump himself. Any Republican senator seeking the coveted leadership position in the United States Senate must agree to recess appointments in the Senate, without which we will not be able to get people confirmed in a timely manner. Sometimes the votes can take 2 years or more. This is what they did 4 years ago, and we cannot let it happen again. We need positions filled immediately. Additionally, no judges should be approved during this period of time because the Democrats are looking to ram through their judges as the Republicans fight over leadership. This is not acceptable. Thank you. So, of course, what he's talking about now is this sort of this no man's land 3-month period where Trump is building the future and the Democrats are going to try, and this is just politics. It would be done the other way if the situation was reversed. They're going to do everything they can to stop all of his appointments, pack as many judges in, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, Rick Scott saw that tweet. Senator Rick Scott from the great free state of Florida saw that tweet. He wrote this: 100% agree. I will do whatever it takes to get your nominations through as quickly as possible. Then Elon responded to that. And again, this is all happening publicly. This is so the reverse of everything we've become accustomed to. Elon Musk saw the tweet from Rick Scott and he said, Rick Scott for Senate Majority Leader. This is democracy, guys. This is transparency. They're not having secret meetings. We'll have this with that. And now there may be meetings. I'm sure there are people having lunches right now discussing some of this stuff. But as much of it as we've ever seen is happening right in front of our eyes. It's happening on X, and that's why they hate it. That is it. Because what they're used to doing is having things happen in secrecy, but even that is not working anymore. Check this out from Benny Johnson, exclusive. A GOP Senate source leaked the internal whip count for the leadership vote. So they have to figure out who the new Senate leader is going to be now that the Republicans are in charge. The final votes will be on a secret ballot on Wednesday. Here's where the race stands now. Cornyn 18, Scott 11, Thune 24, and he has the receipts right there. So you see the receipts right there. So what I would like to tell you, I don't ask much from you guys. It would be nice if you subscribe. You could click like every now and again, join us on Locals, all that kind of stuff. But I don't push too much. I don't think I'm that pushed. What I would like to do is actually ask you something that has nothing to do with me, other than I'm an American. Call your senator today. Rick Scott is the right choice here. Rick Scott has been a highly competent senator here in Florida, former governor here in Florida. He's good. He's right. I've met him. Have we ever had him on the show? I actually don't think we've ever had him on the show, but I've met him a couple times. The energy seems to be going towards him right now. I feel like he is up for the fight. He seems like the right choice. If you don't agree with me, get involved either way. How about that? call your senator and have a little influence in this, because this is where you, the people, we, the people, can influence, right? Like they're going to pick a Senate leader. It seems like Mitch McConnell, the thing that I should have mentioned, when we pull up that list again, could you for a second, Connor? So if you look at this list, what's interesting here is that Mitch McConnell wants Thune. No, sorry, Mitch McConnell, he wants Thune. And Mitch McConnell, of course, has had an unbelievable, I would say a crazy deep state amount of power forever. He seems to be going in the other direction of the Trump people. So, right, you've got Elon going in the way of Rick Scott. You've got McConnell kind of going in the way of Thune. And that shows you the tension that'll be on the Republican side right now. I'm going to take a chance here on Rick Scott. That's going to be my position. I want to end this show with one other thing, because things can change quickly, really, really quickly. And I think we're going to see it in this country. We're seeing it right now. I want to jump down to Argentina because Javier Milei came in. They said he was mean. They said he was a fascist. He was right wing and he was racist. He came in. He blew apart all the woke stuff. He destroyed the government agencies. Their dollar is valued more. Great things are happening in Argentina right now, and it can happen here too. And there's a wonderful video that we found this weekend of Milei explaining why you do hard things and what sort of the legacy of a politician can be. And I should note, because we promised you guys we were going to do this, we show you a lot of these videos from politicians from other countries where they're speaking in their native tongue, and we just show you the translation underneath. But using the latest in AI technology that we've purchased over here, you will hear Malay and Inglés.
Many times I have been asked what it is, how I feel about being president. And I say that for me it is just another job, that I was given a job description that was to reduce inflation, grow the economy, and end insecurity. And I focus on doing that. In other words, I don't care what the polls say, I don't care about anything, I do what I have to do. Look, you have the image to consume it. In other words, what is the use of having an image if it is not to consume it while governing, to make decisions? So, look how interesting all. The politicians looking at the polls, making political calculations, all ended up with a horrible image and also ruined the 46 million Argentines. So let's say if inevitably one is going to end up with a bad image, well, if I'm going to end up with a bad image, I prefer to end up with a bad image doing the right things. That is to say, if power does not serve to solve people's problems, it is useless. So, that is the idea. The idea is to do what needs to be done, and if there are costs to pay, they are paid. That is to say, they voted for us for that, so we can lead a narcissistic life to see how I look in the mirror of the polls.
Isn't that great, guys? Well, first off, how cool is that technology? Not only does it do the translation, but then his mouth moves as if he's speaking English. Like, that's just one of the gajillion things that's on the horizon for the future that we can't even really predict what AI is going to do. But putting that aside, what he said, if I don't at least use the power to make people's life, what was the point? Most people are going to hate me on the other side. Every politician comes in promising everything and ends up hated and destroys so many things. But Trump, that's your opportunity right now. President-elect Donald Trump, once and future President Donald Trump. That is your challenge right now. They're going to hate you no matter what. You know that. A certain amount of people, the media, they can't do the mirror thing. We're past that point. Yeah, maybe some more and more people will wake up, hopefully. Right? Like, the mandate's here. You got the chance. Bring in the right people. Fix this thing, and let's make America the 80s again. How about that? That would be the thing. That would be the thing. Post-game show, 30 seconds, Rubin Report. .locals.com. Goodbye.